Hey guys, it's your boy, Ballface8020, back again with another great response video. Well, this is more of a commentary, I guess, commentary slash response. So we're back in the office with Uncle C, I'm sorry. Wait a minute, pretty sure it's Uncle C. I know you guys, at least as far as I know, prefer the screen, where I directly respond to his video, like the blatant content stealing. Now, I don't think I'm doing that anymore. I hate using the screen recording software, but it's not, that's a huge part of it, but it's not just that. It's that, well, related to the not liking the screen recording software, I just don't enjoy making videos that way. But, I go back and watch those videos I did, like the old Casey videos and stuff, and, I don't enjoy them at all. I really enjoyed making them, and I used to enjoy even rewatching them. But I think they suck. The only reason I'm leaving them up is because I know that some of you guys like them. But if it wasn't for that, I would just delete all of them. Because I think they're terrible. And I hate those response videos. The only response videos that I can actually sit through and watch are the ones where it's just me talking, like this one's gonna be. Okay, so like I said, we're back in the office. Uncle C is looking a little rough. He's a little worn down. Still a handsome young guy. I always thought that he was going to be somebody who didn't really age that well, because he's very pale, and he's pale and he's blonde, and well, those can be attractive features when young. They don't tend to keep as well. Something about, Casey is a handsome guy, but he's handsome in a very, very JBW way. So those, it's not, that's not necessarily gonna hold as well. Another thing is that Casey clearly carries a lot of tension. Like he radiates tension and internal tension, and I think that takes a toll on your looks. Now, don't get me wrong, Casey's still handsome. I just but he's what, 27? He's 27. To me, he looks a bit older than that. He doesn't look bad. I'm not not hating him, on him or anything. To me, he looks a bit older than that, and part of that is probably because of tension. Part of that's because he's got a phenotype that's not going to age as well, which is fine. Part of it is his Norwooding makes him look maybe a little older than he really is. Part of it is that the facial hair that he has, because he thinks it makes him look more masculine, even though it doesn't fit him at all. And it's not like there's anything wrong with the facial hair. It's just he's a guy who's not meant to have it, and which is fine. I think there's a lot of guys like that. And then and a big part of it is probably because he's too lean. Like I said it again, who looks better between Hunter Biden and Tom Brady? And it's no question, it's Hunter Biden looks better. And the main reason is probably because, there's multiple things, but Tom is too lean. And you can get away with being leaner than you're meant to be when you're 22, 23. For Tom, it lasts a little bit longer. But when you get older, it doesn't work anymore. Now, maybe if you're somebody who really stores a lot of their fat in their face, maybe you can get away with it a little bit better. But too lean. If you're too lean, it tends to not age well. Trudeau. Is started to show real. Trudeau, in my opinion, started to lose his glow sometime in his mid 40s. So he held it for a long time, but he was one of those rare guys who actually got better looking in his 30s and 40s than he was in his 20s. But and part of that was because if you see him when he was really young, he stored a ton of fat in his face, and so he could get away with it in a way that some other guys can't or couldn't. I know this isn't what you guys clicked on the video to hear about. We'll get to it, I promise. So yeah, I think that's part of the problem. And just a little bit more about Casey in general, since we haven't talked about him in a while. The biggest problem with Casey isn't anything he said or the way he acts and stuff. It's just the fact that he's monetized it all. I feel like after years of watching Casey and stuff, what I see more than anything else is a young guy who's trying to figure things out and who's bringing us along on the journey that he's going through both internally and in his life. And that's, and then, if that's something that's helpful to him, I'm all for it, because I kind of done the same thing with my channel. Now, I never monetized it. I never tried to monetize it. Nobody would ever pay me for anything. And I can genuinely admire, the success Casey's had with it, while also still strongly feeling it was a mistake. Not just because of the guys who he led down the wrong path, but because this is a guy who's, it's very clear, it's been clear the whole time. This is a guy who's, teaching people stuff, but he himself doesn't even know where he is. Like he's still like drastically changing his mind from 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago. He's all over the place because he's figuring it out as he goes along. And if it was just him documenting it, then maybe we'd have an okay channel. And but instead, it's him. That's part of it. Is after the fact. Part of it is him documenting what's going on with him. But also part of it, but the main thing the channel is for is to sell stuff, to sell courses, and to sell merchandise, and that's unfortunate. So anyway, I guess, Casey's now, he's been doing this for so long that he's now resorted to stealing content from New Poster, because he basically made a video very similar to New Poster's whole anti-guru, anti-self-improvement thing. Same idea, at least. Obviously, the video came out much differently. And but before we begin, I want to give and since we brought New Poster up, I do want to mention one thing. Casey does a very good job with his thumbnails. What I'm talking about is the girls he puts in his thumbnails, and he seems to like real recently, he's like I don't know who these girls are or like where he finds their pictures, but they're like really good pictures. And he seems to really be doing a lot more like pictures of like some of them are just girls, like girls in glamour Instagram positions, but some of them are girls in glamour Instagram stuff, except with a 50 Shades of Grey BDSM theme. And I don't know if he does that because he's got there's enough of them there that it's not just a coincidence. He's doing it deliberately, but I'm not sure why. I don't know if it's like he feels like he's done some data and those get like better click rates or something. Because I asked New Poster, do you think Casey's into that? And New Poster said absolutely not. And I agree. I like nobody in this space, like I'm talking about like people who watch my channel and stuff. Like, I don't know, we're sort of, the black pill's an offshoot of the manosphere, and this channel's an offshoot of the black pill. Nobody in this space knows Casey better than me, or has watched more Casey than me. And I can't see it. I can't see it. I can see him doing it, sorry for the image, but I can't see him being into it. And I just don't think that's him. I really don't think that's him. And so I will give him credit on that though. Those are good thumbnails. I guess what I would say is maybe make those pictures the entire thumbnail, so we already know what you look like, Casey. We don't need to see you just talking in front of the camera on the thumbnail. Okay, just make the whole thumbnail the BDSM girl. Okay. So, all right. So in this video, Casey who, I mean, Casey's changed. Casey's had like so many personality changes. I don't know if you guys are familiar at all with John Anthony lifestyle, but he's, and I believe me, I'm not endorsing him. Not at all. That's not the point. What I'm saying, but he actually has a few videos bashing Casey. He considers, because John Anthony lifestyle considers him is a dating coach, red pill affiliated dating coach, and Casey's one of the guys. Like, he hates all the other red pill dating coaches. He seems to hate pretty much everybody, but he hates all the other red pill dating coaches. But Casey's one of the guys who he thinks is bad for, like, is hurting men with, which I agree with. But I think John Anthony lifestyle is too, with his bad dating advice, and he's made a lot of videos attacking Casey, and not a lot, but more than one. How about that? And, well, I saw a video from John Anthony Lifestyle talking about Casey, and this would have been probably back like 2 years ago, I guess, maybe a year, and I don't know, but at some point where Casey said he was getting out of the dating stuff, getting out of talking about women. He said, look, I never really was into that anyway. I just want to talk about how to make money. And then he got out of the whole talking about how to make money thing, mainly because I don't think he was making as much money doing that. I think he was making more money when he talked about how to get women. And but then, that's the thing with Casey. Like, he goes through these changes and then doesn't acknowledge like the previous version of him. He just goes back, like, like one day he's saying, like, look, we're not going to talk about women anymore. Fuck that shit. Let's talk about how to level up and make money. And then, a few months later, he's back to where he started, just talking about women. And, in this video, you practically says you don't need to worry about money. And which is fine. You can change your opinion. You can change your opinion dramatically. You can change your opinion back and forth. But, you think you would at least acknowledge it, right? Also, like, maybe don't go into selling shit until, like, that this is what you believe in and want to do, and, like, until you, like, know this is how you felt for, like, 5 years or something. Just, like, pick a lane and, don't, I understand being, like, when business, you got to be able to pivot and stuff, but I don't know if you should be pivoting this often, and your core belief shouldn't be changing this often. But anyway, I've wasted enough of your guys' time. Let's get into it. So the video is about basically Casey saying, stay away from this self-improvement shit. This self-improvement shit is a road to nowhere. Okay, good. It's just, that's not very Casey. That's not the Casey we know, but let's hear what he has to say. So the first thing he says is that this whole idea, this whole like let's improve ourselves thing, is an example of impoverished identity or a perceived deficit, some sort of perceived deficit on your own part. Those are the words he used. Impoverished identity was the first term. The second term was, or phrase, was perceived deficit. Those are pretty big words for Casey. I'm wondering if maybe he heard them somewhere else. Impoverished identity, I like it. Impoverished identity and perceived deficit is, perceived deficit is, Casey might have come up with that one. Impoverished identity, Casey could come up with that too, but even if it is Casey, I'm going to have to admit it, that's pretty good. I like it. I agree, but let's go a little further with what he says there. He said there's a difference between internal high value and external high value. And I really agree with this a lot. Now, my interpretation of its significance is going to be different than Casey's, but that's life. But I think that there is that big difference between internal and external. Now, this would violate black pill orthodoxy, but you know what? Not being a worthless piece of shit also violates black pill orthodoxy. So I wouldn't like, stress too much about it on that end. But I would say like I wouldn't say that the outside is easy to change. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it can be improved dramatically to a meaningful extent. Sometimes it can't. Depending on, what you're willing to do, what's available to you. But what I will say is that, however easy or not easy it is to change the outside is, largely changeable. There are limits, very important limits, but it is changeable, like largely changeable to an extent. And like I said, that extent is going to be different on each person. And what you get out of those changes is going to be different on each person. the inside is not so easy to change. It's very difficult to change. I remember I was in 5th grade, I think. I was either in 5th grade or 4th grade, and I read this book called, I believe it was called Jennifer Murdley's Toad. And she's like basically like sort of a proto-femcel. She was, I think her character was in 4th grade. It was like not really a children's book per se, but a young adult's book. And she just, more than anything in the world, wants to be beautiful. And she's actually Fug. And so she ends up, it's a fantasy book, so she ends up like battling with the forces of evil, and like comes, like, so she's battling. It's kind of a long story, but she's battling against this witch, and like in sort of like the climactic struggle, when the witch is offering her the chance, to become beautiful, to become like physically like super beautiful. And then what the witch says is the outside is easy to change. And I remember as either a 4th or 5th grader reading that and just like rolling my eyes and being like, what cope, like what a bunch of like blue-pilled cope. Now, we didn't have the word blue pill back then, but even back then you knew it when you saw it. It's like the kind of bullshit that the guidance counselors, tell you. And it's all the inside that matters, and the looks don't matter and shit, which is not what you see in reality. It's so fucking stupid. But and also it's like, yeah, the outside's easy to change if you're using literal magic, like the witch in the book was, not so much in real life. But even though it's just the book and you're not supposed to take it seriously or anything, there is something to it. Is it easy to change? I wouldn't say that. And no, obviously you can only change it so much if you don't have literal black magic. But you can change the outside a lot. And the inside, though, that's different. That's different. The inside is really hard to change. And I probably spent more of my life trying to change the inside than the outside. And I never got anywhere with it. I've changed yeah, of course I've changed. I mean, I think you can watch these videos back from when I started and see how much that I've, in some ways that I have changed a lot on the inside, but never like out of any deliberate action on my part. Any change that I've had has been either just a result of life experience, because that will change you. I mean, depending on how bad it is, I guess. And then, life experience, just, sheer introspection, and also probably, biological changes. So, not necessarily as internal as you think, things like, your body breaking down on you, that affects what the chemicals in your brain, and that affects your personality and how you carry yourself and express yourself. So I kind of lost my train of thought here, but oh yeah, he's talking about the whole idea of the difference between high value internal and external, and this is something that I'm not sure what caused this, but in the last 6 to 12 months, probably more the last 6 months, I've really developed an ability to see what's going on with people on the inside. Like, just give you an example. And for me, it's probably less of a big deal because I've probably historically been more naive than most people. But you go watch the 1998 video by Enrique Iglesias, Bayamos. And I remember seeing it as a kid, although I never actually saw that particular video, but I definitely saw Enrique Iglesias, obviously, as a kid. I remember, what things were like in 1998. Although I enjoyed his music, I wasn't like a super fan or anything. His whole like Latin lover boy aesthetic never really did it for me. I never really like saw him and thought like, whoa, that's what I want to be like. I mean, I wanted to be, You know, I wanted to be like Marvin Hagler. I didn't want to be like Enrique Iglesias. Um, but one thing that I did think when I saw him, I'm talking about as a very young man, as a teenager, was this guy is just so like cool and confident. Not the kind of cool that I admired, because I was just, to me it was just kind of like, dude, get over yourself. That's kind of how I felt. But really cool and confident stuff. And then when I see him, when I watch the video now, like the insecurity just screams out to me. Like this is like, you know, like just like the incredible level of vanity, the level of pressure that creates. And to me, it's really obvious. Like how, and you guys can go see for yourselves, go watch the video, see like how like just like insecure, I guess he comes off as. I wish I could be more, you know, do a better job coming up with descriptors of that. Just like such a chump. That's what he is. You watch the video. It's even worse than the video he's in with Anna Kournikova, the escape. I mean, you see this guy, and this guy, like, he's got it all, right? He's tall, he's handsome, he's smooth. He is naturally very smooth. He's able to, I mean, I wouldn't really say anything like beyond smooth, but the way he's able to, he has a type of physical charisma with women. Like, he's able to, like, naturally, like, touch women like all over and look comfortable doing it, and I believe he is comfortable. I'm not saying anything there. But yeah, he's got all that going for him, but it's not really doing him any good in the internal like confidence part. Like, I mean, yes, he thinks he's super good looking and super great, and he thinks he's God's gift to women, maybe humanity in general. And I don't have anything against the guy. I'm just saying that that's what he comes off as. But underneath it all, there's this real underlying insecurity, and to me, it like screams out. It's like I'm not looking for it. It's just so obvious, to the point that it's pathetic. That's what I mean. I watched the Buy It Most video, and I think this guy is pathetic. And I know I've talked in earlier videos about, like, you know, saying like why I feel sorry for guys like Josh Allen, and that you guys wouldn't get it. And I'm not here to talk about that now, but I will say this, you know. Yeah, part of me does kind of feel sorry for Josh Allen, but I've never looked at Josh Allen and think that guy looks pathetic. You know, he doesn't look. Josh Allen does not look pathetic to me. Young Enrique Iglesias looks pathetic, and if you see, I mean, you see him even more recently, he looks even more pathetic, because, you know, the whole like the Latin lover boy thing doesn't really age that well, I guess. Sorry, this is dragging so badly. But you know, the thing is that you don't even have to go to Enrique Iglesias. Let's do stuff more close to home. I've already mentioned him before, Dane Cook. The guy, you can go back to 2006 when he was in his prime, all right? Super alpha Chad on the outside, not just a total Chad, tall, handsome. And I've got weird taste in guys, and even I think Dane Cook's handsome. And tall, handsome, he is in great shape. You know, had the great hair. I don't think these days he got it, but he had great hair. I never thought he was funny. I think in hindsight, most people agree with that. But also I don't like stand up, so I'm not the target audience anyway. But to me, it was obvious. Like even when he was big, was that like this guy is a chump. You know, he is a chump underneath. It's like, yeah, he's big. Yeah, he's smart. Yeah, he's funny. He's funny. Yeah, he's an okay actor. He's got money, status, fame. He's tall. He's big. I mean, he's got it all. But you know what? On the inside, he's just another beta chump in a world that's filled with them. And to me, that's obvious. To me, that was obvious before I could do like that ability to see, that sort of like extra ability to see on the inside that I've developed suddenly over these last few months. That was always obvious to me, and I don't think I was the only person who it was obvious to. But then we can go even deeper than that, even closer to home, and then we can go to the comedian Matt Rife, who's same thing. This guy, you guys can go watch his stuff. Not funny at all. Seems like a nice guy. And I think I'd like him. Not funny at all. Really, I mean, look, stand-up's hard. It's hard, but I mean, he's not funny. It's some of the worst stand-up I've ever seen, and I hate stand-up, but it's really bad. And in fact, while he has made me laugh with some of his improvised stuff, his his actual sets, no. And I've seen a bit, and none of it's ever made me laugh. But here's the thing: is like yeah, it's all there on the surface, right? Good looking. He doesn't really do it for me, but he's definitely what most women and most black pillars would consider very good looking. Very good hair. Tall, about like 6'1". A bit of a framelit, but not like just just a little bit, so it works for him. And he's in such good shape that I actually think being a little bit of a framelit kind of helps you if you're gym maxed. As long as the face and the hair are there, obviously, and the height. But you know what? You can say chump. Dude is a chump. You can see it. And then of course, last but certainly not least, our new friend Chad Light. And I guess I'd call him a loser in one of my previous videos, and he responded, and he was like, it was a long response, but one of the things he's like, well, I don't really consider myself a loser. And I was like, you're not a loser. I shouldn't have used that word. I apologize. A loser would be somebody like me. I'm a loser. The thing is, like, can't support myself. I'm going to be on the street probably within a decade. And, no family other than like my somewhat estranged family. I don't know if estranged is the right word, but family who I don't really talk to. And, no real friends, except for some people who I, was hanging out with in high school, who I see like once a year. And, basically, so I've failed at pretty much everything that I've ever tried. And on top of that, I've never really, there have been things I've tried to improve on. I'm not saying I've never put work into anything, but a lot of the stuff that, if I had made some better decisions or put in more effort or been more responsible, there, were opportunities out there for me to have more success both professionally and personally. And, I didn't do it. And that's kind of the definition of a loser. Now, none of this is to say I have any regrets. Obviously I regret, some of the stuff I said to my dad. I'm not saying I've never done anything that I wish I could do over or take back. But what I'm saying is that as for how my life's turned out, I got to be honest with you. I'm not dissatisfied with it, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. However, that is kind of what society would regard as a loser, right? Not just a loser, but an unrepentant loser. So no, Chad Light is nothing like me in that sense. But what he is he's a chump. He's like Dane Cook or like Matt Rife. And that's somebody who's on the inside is still every bit the Dane Cook, I don't know what happened with Dane Cook, because he was born like an alpha Chad and then still somehow developed the chump personality. But a guy like Matt Rife or Chad Light, those guys are manufactured Chads. Yes, there always had to be the base there for them to do it. But they weren't they didn't just wake up in the morning as Chad. They had to looks max into Chaddom. And the thing is, the looks maxing only changed the outside. On the inside, they have the same beta personalities they did when they were normies. And and it's not, it's not a criticism. Maybe it doesn't sound nice, but it's not a criticism. The thing is, and we'll talk about, we can maybe talk about it a little further in this video. It depends on what it is you value, what it is you're going after. I don't have any doubt in my mind that most of my viewers, certainly, probably 100% of Rehab Room's viewers, and everybody in this space would, change their lives, trade places with Matt Rife or Chad Light in a second. And those are guys who have made it as far as most of them are concerned. I think Some people who aren't even black-pilled would feel that way. A lot of people who aren't, guys who aren't even black-pilled would still be that way, because that's not really, like, the inside stuff isn't really a big deal to them. But it doesn't mean just because it's not a big deal doesn't mean, yeah, it's not a big deal to you. Okay, that's fine. But it's still something that's out there. It's still something that is maybe worth discussing for some people. So that's what Casey's getting at. Casey's saying that high value is, there's two different kinds of high value. There's external high value, Chad Light, Matt Rife, and then there's internal high value. Jack Nicholson? I don't know. Now, black pill orthodoxy, and maybe even non-black pill orthodoxy, would say, well, that's not really accurate, because they would say two things. They would say, first of all, internal high value doesn't exist. It doesn't exist, or insofar as it does exist, it doesn't mean anything. Second of all, people who with that internal high value only have it because they have external high value, as in, they're good looking, or have status or whatever. No, I don't think that's true, because I went to high school with a guy who, in hindsight, although I didn't appreciate it at the time, and I don't think I was the only one, he did have a handsome face. Handsome face and good hair. And he was in the year below me. But even though, we were always basically the size equivalents of each other. We were the same height, same frame size. So manlet framelets. Like I said, he did have a good, I wouldn't say great face. Definitely wouldn't say great face. He also was a super burnout stoner type. And he wasn't an incel or anything, but he didn't get a ton of, I don't remember ever hearing the girls talk about him. The girls respected him. The girls, he was one of the, my school was a little bit different. We didn't have clear, cool kids, everybody else. That was more of a middle school thing. But girls definitely respected him as one of the cooler guys. But actually got with him? No. Not at least while I was there. Maybe like I said, he was in the year below me, maybe when he was a senior. And I was gone by then. But he was, the thing is, despite being built exactly like me, same height and same frame, and physically even weaker, because I worked out, he didn't. And not much of an athlete. He always had that dominant, aggressive, very kind of actually a really bullying personality. He was a real bully, and he could be a real dick. I mean, he was a friend of mine, but it was a friend of mine who I wasn't crazy about, and to me he was pretty much always fine. But anyway, like I said, despite being good looking, having high status, and dominant personality, girls weren't that into him. The thing is, because he was a manlet framelit, I guess, and he was just kind of regarded as sort of the kind of weirdo burnout type. And then so I go away to college, and I come back at this some party later, and this is 2 years later, and he's had this insane growth spurt. Okay, so when I had seen him last, he was 5'9", maybe 5'10", and now he's 6'1", but his frame was 2 sizes bigger, and his hair, which had been really good, was buzzed off. He just had a buzz cut now. But I'd never noticed before, but he had a really good head shape. He could pull off the buzz. He actually looked better with the buzz than with the longer hair. And So, but all of a sudden, the thing is, like, so you come back and you see him, and like I remember, like, when I saw him, like, I didn't, like, even recognize him, and I remember, like, I saw him, and, like, we went to shake hands, and everybody started laughing, and they were like, "Oh, Ballface 80/20, you just made, like, the funniest facial expression." And I don't know what my facial expression looked like, but I remember, like, being how surprised I was when I saw him, because people had told me, like, he had gone through this physical transformation, but I wasn't expecting it to be that dramatic. But anyway, here's the difference: is now the girls completely worshipped him. Like, they loved him, they threw themselves at him. And but the point that I'm trying to make is that so that's like black pill thing is like, okay, he's the exact same guy, and women are after him. It's like, but right, that's kind of my point though, is he's the exact same guy. He did not change at all. He was already that sort of dominant bully, and he like I said, he could be a real piece of shit, and he was already that dominant bully piece of shit well before he turned into Chad. As sort of the manlet normie, he had the exact same personality. So what I'm trying to say is that you can't just say like, oh, well, it's just from being Chad that gives you this bullying, dominant asshole personality. It doesn't work like that. Really, that personality is due to a mixture of neural wiring and life experience. That's just kind of how you just kind of are how you are. Yeah, of course, the way you look is going to affect the way that society looks at you, the way you get treated, and the way you look at yourself. And those things are all going to impact your personality, including things like your neural wiring, of course. But it's not the only thing, and it's not even the main thing. So there is something. So this idea, though, that that's I'm trying to. There is this black pill orthodox idea, like all their ideas are retarded, but there's one retarded idea is that the way you are on the inside is totally a factor of totally not a factor, a product of how you look on the outside and how you're treated based on how you look on the outside. It's not true. But there is, like, the thing is, so there is that difference. That's what Casey's talking about. There's, high value on the outside, high value on the inside. I mean, we maybe don't like the term high value, but we know what Casey's trying to say there. So high value on the inside is when you feel good enough as is. I would say that that's not enough. I would say that's not enough, because I one of the very few good things about getting older is that, like me, because I've spent my whole life not feeling good enough, and that becomes less and less of an issue as I get older. But I'm no more dominant than I was when I was younger. Meanwhile, like, a lot of these super dominant people don't necessarily feel good enough. In fact, some of the reason that they have to go out and, like, womanize as much as they do and bully people as much as they do. Yeah, sometimes a lot of it is they're just having fun, okay? But some of it is that need that they don't feel good enough, so they need to prove it to themselves and to prove others. So I think that Casey is conflating two things here. They're common to complain. I understand where he's coming from, but I wouldn't go as far as he did. So he's saying that, and then Casey's being Casey. So he starts off okay, and then he takes it in a retarded direction. He says, now, women don't really care about that stuff on the outside. What they care about is that you have that internal high value that will attract women. It's like, okay, first of all, no. Second of all, that's like red pill 101. Like that's like pure red pill, which I thought Casey was against. And or maybe he was, and now he's changing his tune. And third, like we were saying, let's not conflate being okay with yourself and liking yourself with dominance. What's going to be much more attractive to women is like that smoothness, dominance, smoothness and dominance. If that smoothness and dominance is on top of some underlying insecurity, women don't care. You know, it's like women aren't attracted to your confidence or how much you like yourself. I mean, say if that's what it was about, then why aren't women throwing themselves at monks? You know, and then he says that Casey then says. And then the other thing he said that, of course, I want to at least address it. I don't think I need to, but I have for the sense of completeness. Casey's saying that women aren't really attracted. What happens on the outside? It's like, okay, well then explain to me Matt Rife, explain to me Chad Light. These guys did not change on the inside. I don't know how hard they were trying to. Chad Light tells me he's trying to. Chad Light, if you're watching, don't bother. It doesn't work. We can try. Like it's nothing against you. It's just the thing is I've tried it. It can't be done. Okay, it's not. If you really want to change on the inside, the only thing you can do is drive your car into a brick wall at 100 miles an hour, and then hope that when you recover from that you fully recover from the brain damage, and then that you like the new personality that your brain comes up with. That's the only way you're ever going to change what's on the inside. That's not just for you. That's for anybody. But the thing is, those guys went from having, I don't know what Matt Rife was like, but certainly Chad Light's a great example of it. This guy was essentially incel tier with women. Joe Descartes is another example from Joe Descartes from way back. But they went from, incel tier looks, maybe not like classic incel tier looks, but incel-ish looks, and low tier normie looks, maybe. How about that? And when you take the whole package, even if there was material underneath to work with, to being either Chad Lights or Chads. I think Chad Light is a Chad. I think he's like right. He's kind of on the border between Chad Light. Like he's not quite Chris Hemsworth, but he's closer to Chris Hemsworth than I think you might think. Joe Descartes, I would say, is more of a pure Chad Light. Those guys didn't change at all on the inside. Like I said, I don't even think they tried to. And they started having huge amounts of success with women. Huge amounts of success with women. So, no, don't say that what's on the outside doesn't matter. It's clearly the most important thing. Like, how could anybody dispute that? Unless they're trying to, you want to say oh, look, Casey's just trying to sell courses. I wish that's all it was, but I don't think so. So then he going back to the inside. He says, feeling good enough as is, this is what will attract women. No, I'm sorry, it's not true. And, I when I was a young man, early 20s, pushing into mid 20s, I wasn't just insecure and unhappy with myself. I outright hated myself. And, I got with some pretty good looking girls. Not a lot, but but some, and I had IOIs from many others. Now, again, in hindsight, the IOIs may have just been, they just wanted to flirt, or they just wanted to emotionally beta bucks me, and me being so naive, probably I didn't realize that. In hindsight, I think it's obvious. I just didn't get it. I didn't understand it. But the thing is, there were some that, but at least the thing is, whatever they wanted, at least I got those IOIs. Okay, I never get that stuff now. Okay. Now, one possibility is that women's standards have just gotten a lot higher. I know that's what the Black Pill Orthodox would say. To them, I would say you're all gay. Everybody hates you. Your own parents hate you. Everybody hates Black Pill Orthodox. So, no. They did a study at the University of Yerevan, and they asked students there, who do you hate more? The Turks who murdered and raped your grandparents and great-grandparents during the Armenian genocide, or Black Pill Orthodox? And 87% selected Black Pill Orthodox, and the other 13% either said both the same or refused to answer. Not a single person said that they hated the people who murdered their family members more than they hated Black Pill Orthodox. That's how despised Black Pill Orthodox are. And you can't say, oh, well, it's because we're ugly. It's how the hell would they know what you look like? They were just filling out a survey. Like, I hate you. I don't know what you look like. I'd probably find some of you guys good looking. My standards are really weird. So, no. And stop derailing the video. Okay, I'm trying to make a point here. So women can. He says so. Casey then saying women can sense that you don't feel good enough, and that puts them off. I don't think women can sense that. I don't think they can. I really don't. Again, what about Chad Light, Matt Rife? Like, Matt Rife clearly, even if I didn't develop my good ability to sense insecurity, I could see it with Matt Rife. With Matt Rife, it's so obvious. With young Dane Cook, it was so obvious. Women were throwing it at those guys, or throwing it at Dane Cook. They are throwing it still at Matt Rife. And it's like, I think they either just don't sense it or they don't care. So no, I don't think, this idea that you need to be secure to get women, I don't even know if it's going to help. You definitely don't need it. And I don't think it's going to help. And also, like, what about Casey himself? Casey, we know that Casey's outpulled Cole by a factor of like 100. And Cole is not insecure. Cole is not insecure at all. And he mogs Casey to oblivion physically. And yet Casey, who is very insecure, like extremely insecure, outpulls Cole big time. So what a bunch of bullshit. No. Look, I'm all for feeling good about yourself. And there might be some situations in life where it can help you have some success. I don't think attracting women is going to be one of them. Now, I do think feeling good about yourself is, for a truly healthy long-term relationship, you're certainly better off if you feel good about yourself and don't feel inadequate. But in terms of like just getting with girls, and just, dating in the modern world, I don't think it's going to help. I don't think it's going to help. I don't think it's going to hurt. I don't think it's going to help though. And in some stages, I think it actually could hurt, depending on, how it, changed your priorities and how you behaved and stuff. Because the thing is, this sort of like insecurity and not feeling good enough can cause men to demonstrate behaviors that women find attractive. Like the same insecurity that causes a guy to show his dominance, his strength, or whatever. Like that comes from a place of insecurity, and I see that now. But a woman might find that those displays attractive. So I think that Casey's way off base. So then what Casey goes after, and this is one of the things New Poster talked about in his video on the topic. He said Casey's just saying you can get into this stage where when I do this, then I'll be good enough. And I had a bit of this when I was young, like much younger. But it's just like, this is something I want to do. Like once I get like a 6-pack, or, once I can bench 300 pounds, or once the example Casey uses, once I make $10 million, then I can be good enough. Then I'll be good enough, and then I'll be able to attract women. And no, I think it's a bad mindset, to say late. And this is something like probably my biggest problem, my biggest objection to self-improvement. It's been based on my own experiences when I was doing it to like one extent or another, or attempting to do it to one extent or another, is that it essentially doesn't end. There's always going to be something, and the more you improve, the more, for me at least, the more insecure you are about the things that you haven't improved. And it becomes like everything is just like on wait. It's all on hold until this gets fixed, this gets fixed, this gets fixed. And, who knows how long that's going to happen, if ever, And, yeah, and then sure, like maybe you did, again, we'll say Chad Light. He essentially fixed everything. The thing is, his problems were his weight and his hairline. And he fixed all that. And then he added some other stuff. He's like, okay, well, now I'm actually going to get super lean, and I'm going to get jacked. And to me, in my opinion, those last two things that he put a lot of effort into, I mean, I'm all for it if, you know, if he enjoyed it, it makes him feel good. But I don't think it's improved his SMV at all. I think he could have gone without ever going to to the gym at all. Like he just done, you know, the Jared from Subway thing. Just lose the weight and walk. Don't worry about building any muscle, and just getting the hair fixed. I think that would have been enough. He would have had exactly as much success as he's had with women as he had. I don't think the gym is only going to be an SMV boost if you're like a Gerbert Johnson, who's got everything except has the twink frame. You know, like, so he's somebody who can truly gym max. But for most guys, if you're not a twink, you're not going to get any SMV from adding muscles. It's not going to happen. And if you're not a twink, you don't have a twink frame, you don't get any benefit from being lean. The only exception is for the muscle queens, and they do exist, but they're such a small portion of the female population. Casey talked about this idea that like these guys who are really into self-improvement don't feel complete, and that's another thing I've noticed. Like the more interested I was in self-improvement, the more incomplete I felt. You know, whereas the times in my life where I wasn't, you know, thinking about any kind of self-improvement, no, was I like in love with myself? No, maybe not, but I wasn't like feeling insecure. I certainly wasn't feeling incomplete. And so I think that's, a big thing too. I think Casey's completely right about that. And he says that he hears this a lot. I'm not sure, like maybe he hears this from his clients, I don't know, but he said like there's all these guys out there, so like why are women picking losers? Like these guys are doing nothing with their lives, they have no money, and women are still getting with them. It's like, well, you know, women tend to go with guys in their social circle, their social caste and stuff. Like, I mean, like if every woman had an opportunity to go after millionaires, that they would. But the thing is, like, women who aren't, you know, high class themselves aren't really going to come into contact with a lot of millionaires, you know, and so they're going to come in contact with the guys they work with, and a lot of those guys are going to be basically losers. And it's like, you know, okay, they may be losers, but they're you know, they give them feels. You know, they give them feels, and that's mostly going to be about looks, but it's also going to be about personality compatibility. Some of those guys are going to have like real alpha dog dominant personalities, but you know, if you weren't born with that, you're not going to develop one, no matter how much of a change you make on the outside. And then those guys feeling confident and stuff, it's like, I mean, yeah, I guess, and there's probably something to that, like, but again, that's not really it. Like, plenty of people are confident and happy with themselves, and they don't have the charisma or the dominance without the charisma or the dominance, it's not going to attract women. And if the charisma and dominance is there, it doesn't matter that you feel like shit about yourself. You know, as long as you've got, that's all that women care about. Just like, as long as the looks are there, women are okay with the inside being shitty. And then even when you get to the inside, as long as the charisma and dominance are there, women don't care about that you're actually insecure underneath. Meanwhile, like, you know, it can be the other way around. You're actually super secure. You think you're great. For instance, you're a monk or something, and women aren't going to be interested because you're just going to be, that's because you're not dominant, you're not charismatic, and you're not particularly attractive. So it's just, you know, that's just not the way attraction works. So Casey says that a lot of these guys who, I guess he's talking about clients he's coached or stuff, you know, they're out there in the game and they're struggling with women due to their own sort of lack of self-worth. Like they're making money, they're in good shape, and women still aren't responding to them. And in Casey's saying it's because they lack that, you know, inner self-worth. I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true. I think that, you know, what's holding them back, I mean, assuming that the looks really are there, mostly are there, because being in shape is not looks. I mean, the thing is, like, being in shape is not going to make you good looking. Being very fat can make you bad looking. But I mean, like I said, unless you're like somebody who can twink max like Gerbert, being in shape or building muscle is not going to add to your SMV. So that's a non-issue. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, that the looks are there, like the person's in shape or whatever. But whether they're in shape or not, they look okay. You know, for whatever, like overall, they're physically attractive or physically good enough. And then they're doing well financially. They're making money. They have some status, and they're still not succeeding with women. Well, okay. First of all, again, if the looks really are there, this isn't happening. Like I said, like the thing is, like again, look at like a total chump like Chad Light, and he fucking kills it with women because it doesn't fucking matter that he's a chump because the looks are there, and but even then, you know, even then, it's like, you know, this idea. So like, in case of whether you feel incomplete, you feel like you're not good enough, blah blah blah. Well, even then, if you feel like, even if these guys who are working with Casey, they do change. They like go to have some kind of epiphany where they realize, you know what, I'm good enough the way I am. I don't need to change. I don't need to make any more money, anything like that. Like, you know, I'm not saying they have to like give up all that stuff, but they don't have to use it as a means of internal validation anymore. You know, they feel good enough. Well, they're doing it because they want to, not because they're chasing some, you know, some like a internal validation or feeling of completeness or whatever. Let's say they do get to that point. I don't think it's going to make them any more attractive to women. I really don't. Because when we talk about internal things that attract you to women, they're not really internal things at all. Again, their charisma, their dominance. Well, that shit comes from that's neurochemistry. You know, it's just as physical as your looks. So, you know, it is. I mean, you're still kind of always trapped in the black pill. You know, that's all for now, and I'll see you in the next. Sorry about the length.